Just before this episode, I want to tell you about another adventurous audio podcast series. The series returns that's not afraid to talk about the really dark and difficult stuff.
I told each of them that their dad had taken his own life, that he was in a really, really dark, bad place, and he couldn't see a way forward and he couldn't find his way back.
Stories of loss and grief.
There was this sense of being on the edge of an abyss almost, like, how am I ever going to function in the world again? Who am I? What's happening to me?
And stories of hope after hell.
Every morning that I wake up, I am grateful that I get to wake up, because for a long time I didn't want to. And now the whole thing has shifted on its head. I have more happiness and joy in my life because of me.
Honest, open and thought-provoking conversations about mental health.
A lot of people will be told that vulnerability makes you weaker. Trust me, it makes you stronger. 100%.
Speaking of Suicide, a series from Mikey's Line and Adventurous Audio. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, it's Ali here, salon director from the Head Gardener in Inverness. Talking about cancer is never easy, but unless we're open and honest about it, how can we learn from each other and, most importantly, support each other? Personally, I love this podcast. Every so often there'll be a little nugget that will just smack you in the face and you just think, whoa, right, that resonates. I think Penny is an amazing storyteller. She's utterly honest and yes, sweary, but cancer makes you a bit sweary. I'm really proud to be the sponsor of Lump, and I hope you get as much from it as I do. But don't forget to like it, rate it and share it. And over to Penny.
Reflections. Today, I have my first year checkup since my op. I'll go to the hospital, have a mammogram on my good breast, and my surgeon will look at my reconstruction and assess what more can be done. Easy. I don't want to go. As I drive round the city bypass, I'm slightly panicky about how late I left the house. I keep watching the clock, calculating how much time I'll need to walk from the car park to the clinic. When David asked about the appointment as we lay in bed this morning, I cried, quiet tears. He offered to come with me, but there's no hand-holding during this interminable pandemic. I'm not alone in dreading this appointment. It seems many women dread the first-year checkup, but most are anxious because they fear cancer coming back. I feel strangely disengaged from the idea that my cancer could return. It feels so far beyond my control that I've not really given it much thought. It might not. It's the luck of the draw. In part, I don't want to go to the appointment because I don't want to return to the scene of so much emotional turmoil. However warm and caring and gentle the staff, there's no getting round the fact that the breast clinic is not about good news. Even the good news I did get there was set against the context of the fact that it could have been much, much worse news. Learning something isn't as bad as it could have been doesn't make it good. It just makes it a bit less bad. Being braced for terrible news leaves a residue. The walls of the hospital clinic are sticky with it. As I sit and wait to be called, I study the plastic pot plants and reread the notices on the peachy walls about mammograms that I sat here and read a year ago. There's 4 of us here, each sitting alone, and I briefly wonder what page in their story I've come in at, then turn instead to stare in disbelief at the chocolate bars and crisps in the vending machine. When will Scotland and the NHS stop putting this shitey food in their hospitals, for fuck's sake? I tut, but mainly because the sight of them makes me conscious of how much weight I've put on since I was last here. My personal COVID spread has been considerable, and it adds to my angst about what's coming next. I can cope with waiting rooms where the walls are dusty with dried tears. What I can't cope with is having to undress and present my poor, scarred, battered, and unsightly form for inspection within those walls. I keep wondering why it feels so hard, and there are many reasons, but the main one is I've looked in the mirror. I know what I look like these days, and I'm still not able to look without flinching. I was listening to a Radio 4 programme the other day where poets talked about their response to the body's metamorphosis through life, and I became spellbound. A poet described seeing her reflection and not recognising herself, feeling so dislocated that she was consumed by the idea that if she raised her arm, the reflection would not. She saw an old woman, a stranger, and she was suddenly aware of the slippage that happens between body and soul. I wonder when that starts. When does the mind part company from the body? At what point does our body unshackle itself from those feelings of eternal youth, go its own way and tell its own story? Is there a precise day when officially you feel younger than you are? Is it a different day for each of us? I suddenly want to name it. Surely it's of significance, that day when you both continue to age, but don't feel it. In the wreckage of the cancer car crash, something happened to me. For some reason, my soul and body collided once more. We were reunited with hideous, crunching clarity. It's an event which is profoundly shocking. For the first time in my life, I both look and feel old. I've crash-landed into a body, and sadly it fits how I'm feeling inside. When did this happen? When did I morph into this old woman? I suspect this is all just part of the messy business of acceptance. When a friend asked me how my body was doing the other day, I said we should change the question to, how is your acceptance coming on? Acceptance of what's happened. Acceptance of the physical impact. Acceptance of the rearranging of your entire personal landscape. And acceptance of your own mortality. It's a long list to pick your way through, but I suspect a big chunk of it is also about accepting what I now see in the mirror. It's also about accepting that in order to be checked over by the consultant, I need to undress. So I do. When he comes to look at my reconstruction, he frowns, as I knew he would. I don't look at that one, I say, taking a stab at levity. That's right, make me feel worse, he jokes back. He says it can be improved, but we've still no idea when in the current climate. He suggests I reconsider an implant. It's my turn to frown. We agree to meet again in a year and regroup. A year. Later in the day, washing up after tea, I start to tell David that I can't imagine ever having any more done to my reconstruction, even though it's so small and flat. Not after what my body has been through. But partway through, I lose the words and choke up. I continue the conversation in my head. I say, I won't ever change it because it would be vanity. And vanity got me into this mess in the first place. I'm paying the price for vanity. I feel this has all been my fault. What's the matter? He asks. But I shake my head, still speechless, knowing I'll write the words for him to read here when I find them. Then I remember my friend Deirdre's words earlier in the day as we walked for a coffee. You don't have cancer. That's all I care about. You don't have cancer. That's a win. And she's right. No one else cares about my reconstruction. In terms of how they see me, it's invisible. What if, in practicing the art of honestly, openly gazing at ourselves, we can start to see ourselves as others see us? What would we see? My friends don't see a woman with a half breast. They see me as brave, strong, determined, stubborn, inspiring. I know, because they tell me so. If I can just get past the rawness of what's happened, gaze past the bruise and broken bits, and see those scars as nothing more than evidence of a life thoroughly lived and loved, maybe then I could truly inhabit those qualities, really embrace them, and see that person when I look at my reflection instead. Lump is sponsored by Ali McRitchie and the fantastic team at the Head Gardener Hair Salon in Inverness. Without them, it simply wouldn't be possible, so a massive thanks to them for all their support. If you like Lump, make sure you tell the team when you're next in the salon and they'll give you a free gift. Coming up in the next episode. The air is thick with the scent of a life gently moving forward, of a leaving behind. I'm leaving behind my cancer and its ripples. I'm parking them here and now. Lump is written and presented by me, Penny Stewart, and produced by Adventurous Audio.
Tucked away in the trees, just a stone's throw from the road between Ullapool and Inverness.
All I can see here are wild, ragged stacks and bends.
You know, I was always waiting for someone else to do this project.
Centuries of history lie buried and forgotten.
Every care was taken to clarify the benefits to those who needed to be removed.
My grandfather was always lecturing me about it, and he says, you be sure and tell the history.
Now the people and stories of Balblair and Inverlaw are coming back to life.
Who is it that stands in judgment before me?
Hidden in plain sight.
Inverlaw.
8 snapshots, reimagined moments in Highland history.
Deep craters and cold grey lochs. The sting of the Atlantic.